It is Monday on Daily Delivery. Michael Rand here, Patrick Reusse with me as usual. Patrick, how are you doing?
I am just fine. We had the Twins went on the road for 9 games, and Tom Kelly would have been ecstatic, winning 3 series. You'd win 2 out of 3, you're in good shape, and that's what happened yesterday. Was a very interesting game because they're sailing along 3-0.
Yeah.
Joe Ryan's throwing great, and they should have had 5 outs,
Yes.
and they had one. At that point, they made one out
In
of
the was it the
five.
fifth inning or
Buck,
sixth inning? Which inning was that? Sixth.
was it the fifth? I believe
Okay.
six or six, maybe the
Yeah.
sixth. But
Yeah.
anyway, Joe Ryan looked great, and then they made wrong choices. And then Buxton lost the ball in the sun, and they had then they Ryan threw a ball to home instead of first base, and it wasn't. I don't even know if they ever got credited with an error, but they had 5 outs sitting there and
Yeah.
they made one.
Yes.
And then they had to get out of the inning. It was there was 3-2, and the Mariners, who really don't hit too well, I think they had the base loaded, and they got out of that inning. And then Larnach came up and hit the home run, and that was they held. It got to be 3-3,
It
and
did. Yeah.
then Larnach hit the home run, and what, eighth, was it, the eighth?
Yes.
So
Eighth inning home run. Yes.
and that was good enough. Duran's not the same, but he was good enough yesterday. I mean, he's still good. He's just not the absolutely dominant guy he was last year. He's down a couple of ticks with virtually all of his pitches, and maybe just left over from what he had when the season started. And I don't know, he's not quite as dominant. And Griffin Jacks came in the other day on Saturday after being great, and he hadn't pitched for a long time, 5, 6 days, and he wasn't good, and yet they win 2 out of 3 3 different times, so that's pretty good. I really like that Arizona team that went to the World Series
Yeah.
last year. The lineup was dynamic, I think, but they're struggling. They're so they go down and win 2 out of 3 there too, and so hey, they're now 10 over and got a day off, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. They look better now. They're not just beating on the bad teams now. Those were two quality series wins on the road. They knocked the ball around a lot against Arizona and then pitched enough, obviously, and hit enough to beat Seattle. Yeah, it strikes me the bullpen. You're right. It's weird because the guys that they really lean on are struggling a little bit now. But Jorge, my goodness, he's hitting what 101 on the gun. Alcala,
Oh,
he's been a revelation for him
yeah,
lately.
they
So
they
he's
kept bringing him back and bringing him back, and he'd come back, and he'd get a couple outs, and he'd walk 2 guys, and he'd be behind in the count all the time, and they'd send him back, what, 3 different times last year, a couple of times. But
he's had injuries
yeah,
too. Yeah,
all of a sudden he comes in and he throws strikes, and gee whiz, if you throw strikes, it works a lot better than being 3-1 in the count. So yeah, that does give him another weapon for sure. He's been 7, 8, 9, and you need that because you look at everything after those 3 guys, and your Sands is okay,
yeah, right.
uh, and the lefties are all unreliable. So
Yes,
I don't like Ogert that well, and Caleb Thielbar's rendered himself almost unusable, and Funderburk's erratic. But I guess everybody has the same problem. If you got 3 guys at the end of your bullpen, you can't complain. I guess
right.
you can't be perfect, and they certainly aren't out there. But yeah, they're playing good, and I'm really pleased that Doc Rock Baldelli, the doctor, PhD in extreme caution, he Correa got hit by a pitch, and he said, "Well, Correa said I want to play." And I said, "There's zero
Right?
chance on earth the Doc will let him play." But he was back in there on Friday.
And he
So,
homered. He homered in that
yes,
next
yes,
game.
he
They
did.
needed him.
Yeah. So, anyway, that was quite the display of tolerance for injury for Doc Rock. So it was. Yeah, they're a little bit. Royce is the funny thing is going back to about a week ago when Royce says he doesn't do slumps. He's been in a
He's been in
bad
a
slump.
slump.
Yeah,
Never talk
yeah,
about it, Royce. Never
yeah.
talk about it.
But
Just
yeah,
play through. Don't say you're slump proof because that's when you're going to
yes,
get in a slump.
yes. And so without getting much from him, they have a good road trip, and now they come home and they right out of the chute Tuesday they face that Scrubble from
Oh yeah, Detroit. Yeah,
from Detroit, that lefty who's probably going to be in the All Star game, and he's pretty good. And but the Central is interesting. The Central's fun this year because you got four teams, and then you got the Whiteys who are.
yeah.
Hey, the Whiteys have vaulted over 20 victories now, though.
Good for them.
They're 24 and 50,
24. That's amazing.
60 or something. But
That's
they've
amazing.
actually won a couple of games. But Detroit's okay, and Kansas City's pretty good, and Cleveland, of course, have showed a little vulnerability, but they're still
Right.
awful good. So
Well,
anyway, it's not the old Central last year when they were under 500 at this time and still in first place.
well,
Weren't they like
yes.
41 and 44 or something? 41
Yeah.
and 42, and they were first place.
They
So
couldn't give the division away last year. They just kept stumbling along, and then it was still up. They'd
mhm.
lose 7 out of 10, then be like, we lost half a game in the standings. Sorry about that. But the big thing lately is Buxton too. Buxton
Oh
has
yeah, that's right.
caught
We should
himself a
have,
hot streak here, and we haven't seen
yes,
a streak like that from him in a long time.
hitting the ball hard when
Yes,
he's sitting. He's not. They're not. He's not chasing that thing out in the other batter's box.
right.
The main reason being he's putting the ball in play on the first couple of pitches. He
Yeah,
remember when he first came up and he was struggling, he would never swing at strike one. It was
right.
like he thought he was Joe Mauer or something. He was 0-1 all the time. And I think he's got 9 walks all season this year,
Well, is
something
that
like
right?
that.
Oh,
He's
geez.
much more aggressive. And I think that's good for him. If he gets behind in the count, they're going to throw him
Yeah,
that break ball in the other
right.
batter's box, and he's going to hack at it. So when he's putting the ball in play, seeing a pitch he likes right off the bat, it's something. But yeah, he hit the ball hard, man. It's and he's running the bases too. I mean, is my God, is he healthy? I don't
I
know.
guess. Yeah.
Oh no, because he did get shut down for 10
Right.
games this year, and you were kind of thinking that
You're like,
okay,
oh.
this thing's going to pop up every once in a while this season, but right now he's in a good role at the plate. He hasn't. When's the last time he hit like this? 5 years
I
ago,
can't
four
remember.
years
Yeah,
ago.
it was maybe he had. I feel like he had a little stretch like this in maybe 2022 because he wasn't that bad in 2022. But yeah, this good probably 2019, something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah,
might have
it's
been
been a
that long.
while. So and you still like him in center field. He had a ball yesterday that for some reason, against a right-handed hitter, they had him playing over in the other gap, and he didn't quite get there. But he would have. That could have been a spectacular catch that he made too, because he was going hard there, and he didn't quite get to the ball. But I don't know. Sometimes their defensive alignments are puzzling to an old timer like
Bit of
me,
a
and that's
mystery.
I think. Yeah, they had him in the gap, and the I guess the right-handed hitter. But yeah, he was. You're right there. That's the guy that we should pay more attention to on this being a successful road trip. He was terrific. So
You're right. 9 walks on the season. I didn't realize it was that low. Strikeouts are down a little bit compared to where he had been too. It looks like you know 215 at bats, 64 strikeouts this year.
but the pace
Last year
early.
was 304 and 109. So it's better. It's probably like one every 3 and 3.5 at bats. Last year was one every
Yeah,
2.5 at bats.
yeah.
So
Lately though, it's been he was piling them up early
right,
this year. So
right. So
he's lately the last 3 weeks or so, it's been pretty good. He's been putting the ball in play, and as I said, putting it in play quick. So
yes, have we?
not waiting and
Yeah, have we seen enough to say these guys are good now, or what do we make of them? Still seems like they could use some things. If still see, I keep thinking they could still use a starting pitcher before the trade deadline, but I know their starting pitching has been okay, especially with strikeouts. Like Joe Ryan is, kind of the poster child for that, just in terms of like not allowing base runners, getting guys out on strikeouts. Ober's been pretty good lately. Pablo's turning it around. Like I can't quite figure out exactly what they need or what they're missing or quite, are they really good yet? Are we ready to say they're good?
Well, they're short of starting pitchers. There's no doubt about that
Yeah.
because the Ober's been really good, and lately, and Ryan's been good all season, and Pablo's had two good starts in a row after being terrible.
Yeah.
But you got Paddock iffy now with the arm, and you got Simeon Richardson has been terrific, but not terrific, but very capable, and so that's been a miracle here. But this
Yeah.
Festa the other night, we got to see a little peek of him. It looks like he's still a work in progress, and the thing about him was though that he came out and threw pretty good, and then they got him all those runs. And you don't know if he just got to the point where he was just throwing it over, making sure he didn't want to walk anybody or
Right.
something. But yeah, they could. There's no doubt they could use him. Well, for sure, they could use another reliever too. I don't.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, you got some guys. You got some guys out there that border on the unusable. So I don't know. This Damont has been getting them out since. I don't know how he does that, but yeah, if you give me my choice of one thing, I'll take a starting pitcher
Yeah.
because they aren't going to dump the chubby catcher who's terrible. They're not going to get rid of him. So then find somebody else. So
Right.
Vasquez treated the ball like a hand grenade on Saturday. I don't know what the hell he was doing, and he's you're happy when he bunts a guy over to third base. He's terrible.
They got him for. Did they have him for one more year and $10 million
Yes,
more next year
yes,
too?
yes.
Jeez.
They get 3 for 30.
Oof.
He's supposed to be a really good guy, but I have decided as a catcher he's got bad hands, which is a bad thing. I mean, a lot of balls go by him back there, and he had another bad weekend. But the pitchers like him, I guess. The
Yeah.
pitchers like throwing him to him, so that's not a big need for them. They're short some, but they're better. They're way better than I thought they were going to be when the year started. Well,
Oh, geez.
one big thing, Mike, is they're not striking out 12 times a game like
Correct.
they were for a month. It
Right.
looked like they were going to be world class strikeouts, and I think probably since May 1st, they could be near the bottom of the league and striking out. They're
Or at
not.
least
They're
at
not
least middle
striking
at
out.
least middle of the pack. Yeah, they're just
Yes.
much different. Yeah, much different approach. Last week when you said um nobody hits doubles anymore, it sent me down a rabbit hole, and I was looking it up, and I was like, you're right. They're on, the major leagues are on pace for like the fewest doubles in 3 decades, and it's various reasons. But the Twins at that point, I don't know if it's still true. They led the majors in doubles as of a week ago. I think they were coming off a game where they had a bunch, and maybe that probably helped. But
Yes.
that tells you a different approach right now. This is a team that's putting
Oh
the
yeah.
ball in play more. They've got some athletes that can, turn a single into a double, or hit the ball hard enough to get a double, even in this day and age where the outfielders are basically playing at the warning track and it's hard to get a double. But
When you look at their draft choices of the recent years, the 3 4 years ago they were wired in on give me some big lug who can hit a
right,
home run because that's the only way you can score anymore. And now they've kind of all of a sudden somebody got said, "Hey, we got to get more guys on base. We can't be
yeah,
striking out all the time and
right.
just sitting around waiting for a home run because we don't. They don't have extraordinary power, so They are playing a different style of baseball. One thing they're not doing though that a lot of teams are stealing.
Stealing bases,
So a
yeah,
lot of teams. I mean, have you seen some of the stolen
yeah,
base totals against the Yankees?
yes,
The Red Sox stole 9 against them about a week ago. That was the most ever in the series between the two teams. And then they turn around and they got this catcher apparently who can't throw, this Trevino.
okay.
And there's teams in Orioles, I think, stole 5 or 6
Oh,
bases
geez,
against them too. And there's teams are running a lot. The Twins haven't gotten into that yet. They'll steal a base now, but but it's a refreshing, different approach to not sit and watch a game and see 13 strikeouts.
Yes.
Like they were doing early in the year. I mean, it was awful the first month.
Yeah. Seemed like they were just going to be doing the same thing as last year when they set the record. They had over 1,600 last year, which is just ridiculous. And then
Oh yeah, we
like
were on a
10 a
pace
game.
to beat it. I know a month into the year
Yes.
we were on a pace to beat the world record, but not
No,
now.
not
They hit the
now.
doubles. The doubles thing though is I think it's just the outfielders as a whole play a lot deeper.
Oh yeah.
They used to. They cover the gaps and they're not afraid of giving up singles. And
No.
that's funny because you go back 20, 25 years, they played tribute to the center fielder who played shallow.
Yes. Yep.
The great thing about him is he plays shallow. He takes away those singles, and
Right.
now they don't care. They want
No.
to just take away extra bases, take away the gaps.
Yep. Yep.
Anyway,
Absolutely. Well, they're
we'll
better
see
than
it.
they're better than they were at the start of the year. That's for sure.
We'll see
Patrick,
if
we
they
had a
draw some people for the week
yeah.
when they come back here. Well, because they're not on TV still, and they're down in attendance. They're down about 60, 70,000 from last year.
Yeah,
And
I think there's a lot of wait and see, and they didn't have they've gotten pretty lucky in terms of dodging a lot of the rain. But it's this is the time of year where they really need to make hay with their attendance, right? This is July and
yeah,
August. This is where they got to. I mean June too, but they were on the road for a while here. This is where they got to make a charge attendance wise too. Um,
last year they had a primo schedule with a lot of summer baseball, and this year they don't have that. They aren't that home that often in July, and they have a lousy schedule this year too.
yes,
Having already had the Dodgers and Yankees here, it was
yes,
so instead of drawing 110,000 for a 3-game series on a weekend, you drew about 50.
yes,
So it's that killed them too. But for some reason, when they're making out the schedule, they don't look at the schedule and say, "Okay, we want the Dodgers as a big attraction in July. Let's send them to Minnesota." They don't. They
no,
don't think they do. They do treat the Twins and a lot of teams out here as being in the wasteland when it comes to scheduling.
right. They're like, hey, it's not our fault. It's cold there. We're gonna plug in this schedule however we want to.
Yes, that's right.
Um, Drafts and NBA and NHL drafts were last week. I've talked some about the NBA draft at least. The NHL draft was Friday, so I haven't really talked about that. But I can't remember a time, Patrick, when the teams and the fans, at least for the first round, were ecstatic in both cases. That the Wolves fans loved that they traded up to number 8, giving up the last bit of future draft capital that they had from 2031. 2031.
Yes.
You can trade a 2031 first round pick, moving up to get Rob Dillingham, this electric sounding guard from Kentucky. Then they take Terrence Shannon at 27. A couple guys that could help them right away. The Wild, catch the sliding defenseman from Denver who got to 12, and they made a little trade to get up to 12 from 13. And everybody loves it. Everybody's happy. When was the last time everybody was happy about a draft?
Yeah, that's kind of interesting to say the least. I think when we don't have to go back far with the Wolves for people to be happy, but
But
the
both.
Wild,
Yeah.
yeah, the Wild fans. But yes, Dillingham's going to be an interesting case because he'll be that other guard you need, but he's also a completely different style.
Yes.
He only weighs 165 pounds, so
Yes.
you're not going to guard anybody, but that's okay. You can play your hardcore defense at times, and then other times just get in a shootout. But he is pretty dynamic, and he's a shooter. And then Shannon physically is Ant basically. He's
Yeah.
same guy, 6'6". He was great. He had to had the rape accusation, but he beat it and pleaded not guilty. Went to court to play with Illinois because they weren't going to let him play last
Right.
year. And then the trial didn't last long out in Vegas, and he was acquitted within 2 hours. And they could tone down the what a great guy he is BS, but and just let him show up and be a player. They don't have to
Right.
I guess they felt the need to really swear about him, his character, all those things. But yeah, as an athlete, there's no doubt about it that he can play some, and I liked him a lot. In the Big Ten tournament, he was like almost the
Yes.
MVP. He carried them
Yes.
basically to the finals, so he was terrific, and they needed. We were all saying, well, I was anyway, after the reason the Dallas beat the Timberwolves is the Dallas has two ants and we got one.
Right.
Well, with this guy, we might have two.
Yeah.
But I got to bring back what I said last week and been saying for several weeks. The fact that they've done all this and it looks like they're keeping Cat doesn't mean it's
Right.
100%. Tim Connolly is always up to something that nobody knows about. So
Yeah.
we'll just wait and see what the situation is. But now this the second
The
apron that
second
they're going to
apron.
be on.
We need a better name for this, by the way.
Yes,
Second
the
aprons.
second apron. But the because when the real draconian things of being in the second apron kick in,
Right.
reading Chris Hines stuff, 1930, I mean, 2031 was the last trade, that
Yes.
last time they could trade a draft choice for some
Well,
reason.
let's
I
see. At
didn't
seven,
quite,
you can't go more than 7 years out, and then
okay, okay. And then but they're going to have different rules like after
yes.
2000. Now, do they start taking away your draft choices or do
No, you
they
just can't.
move
No, you
them
just
down?
can't trade them. You can't trade them.
Okay,
So
okay. Why? What? I mean, they got to do a lot of goofy stuff.
basically,
That's fine.
I think a lot of this is in response to some of these teams that just said, "Well, we'll pay whatever tax bill you throw at us. We'll just keep signing
Yeah.
guys to exorbitant contracts." And so they were like, "Well, how do we fix this?" And so they kind of started putting penalties in place. So once you get to a certain point in the tax, you can't use your mid-level exception anymore. Like the Wolves
Yes.
won't be able to use that. All they can sign is veteran minimum guys and stuff like that. And I guess there's
Yes.
ways around that. Get the guys to sign the wink wink deals.
Oh, we tried that with Joe Smith.
We
Let's
did.
not get too
Yeah,
far.
let's
Let's
not do
not
that.
get too far
Let's not
out
do
there.
that. But other teams have
Yeah.
probably done that, perhaps. So, you know,
Somehow I was listening to a NBA conversation while I was in the car yesterday. I think it was ESPN radio guys. These people are morons. They take a topic. First of all, everybody's on the Clippers for not wanting to give a 4-year contract to 34-year-old Paul George who
right,
plays half the time, and then which is idiotic. Why do they sign these mid-30s guys to these huge contracts? You need young legs in this
right.
league, and but the other thing is that they're wasting the final years of Steph Curry's career. The Golden State, they've done these terrible things, and they're wasting Steph's. He's won 4 titles, you
Yes,
idiots. He's won four
and
titles. They're
and
not wasting anything. They did everything they could to win
yes,
4 titles.
and now
They
the bill is
spent
coming due. Now the bill
ungodly
is coming
amount.
due.
Yes,
Yes,
yes, that's it. These idiots are saying, "Oh man, get rid of Clay. Clay's
Clay's
hurt
cooked. Yeah,
50 games a year."
yeah,
Oh, how can they have this? They have this tie into old players that
yes.
were once great. Is the guy being reasonable, who I never imagined being reasonable, is James Harden
Yes,
taking a 2 years 68 million or
something like
something
two
like
for
that.
70, I think. Yeah.
2 for 70. When did he become sane? That was he always wanted 230, two
with
forty. So
with the caveat that all of this money is insane, is
yeah,
ridiculous. Like
yes, it's all insane. But
relatively speaking, though, yeah, that contract does not make
Paul
you
George
flinch.
is turning down a three, they're
Yeah,
paying him 3 years max. He wants 4 years max.
and
Man, what is wrong
and
with the
he
76ers?
I
He'll
know
come in, he won't play half the time.
these guys.
You
Everybody
know?
thinks they need three, right? So the Sixers
Yeah.
now have Embiid, Maxey, and Paul George. So
Yeah.
everybody's trying to.
Well, And you got Maxey, who's going to play 70 games, and you got Embiid, who was hurt last year, and
Right.
you got another guy who's going to play half the time.
None
I
of them
guess all
care.
to
Yeah.
worry about is if they're available for the
That's
playoffs or
it.
not.
That's all
So,
these teams care about. Like, can we win 48 games,
yes,
avoid the play in, and then be healthy in the playoffs? That's what it's all come down to.
yeah, it is amazing I see Chris Paul is on the market again.
No,
He's
he's going to
Did
San
somebody
Antonio.
sign him?
San Antonio is
Oh,
where he's headed.
Really?
One year,
By the way,
$11 million.
why is San Antonio making that trade with
I have no
us?
idea.
What
Uh,
is there into it? What's it? Do Popovich and Connolly buddies or
do
something?
they?
What?
All I can think of is that they've got enough young guys now because they also had the
Yeah,
number 4 pick, so they might be like, well, and frankly, like that's all guaranteed salary. You might not want to pay, guaranteed salary because the Wolves are paying Dillingham, I think, 6 million a year. That's what
yeah,
it's a bargain if they're good, but if they're not very good, you wind up having to like offload a guy like Wendell Moore Jr. like the Wolves did. They traded Moore and the 37th pick for the 53rd pick because they're like, we don't want this
yeah.
guy on our salary cap anymore. So
Well, he can't play. That's one
can't
thing.
play.
They
Yeah.
don't like him. They don't like him. But I if I was Wendell Moore Jr., I'd feel bad that they had to trade down 16 spots to
Yes.
get rid of him.
Yes.
To get rid of me. So, but I don't, the I like Minot. I like
Leonard
Miller from
Miller.
what
Yeah.
I hear from everybody else, and this Clark is supposed to be able to defend if he's healthy, and I guess he's healthy now, right?
Yeah, I
The
think
second
so.
rounder for a couple of years ago, and he sat out all year because he was hurt.
Right.
So it's time to get younger on the bench anyway.
Yes.
Goodbye Kyle Anderson. That's the way it
Yes.
goes. I
That's
mean,
what it looks like. Looks like they're
we've done that. You're going to have other ball handlers. You needed him for his ball handling in the
yes.
playoffs this year, but you don't need that now with these other guys coming in.
Well,
So
and he aside from Gobert, Kyle Anderson plays at an entirely different pace than anybody else on the team. They call him slow
yes,
mo for a reason. He comes in there and it works if he's in a certain spot with a certain group, but it's out of place if he has to play with other guys that are trying to play faster. It's just he's slow mo. He doesn't play fast. If they want to play faster, they can't have slow mo. That's for sure.
yeah, and he had a lousy year. He played good at times in the playoffs, but for
Yes.
60 games he was terrible. He couldn't make a
Yes.
shot.
Well,
You could have
because
locked him in the gym. Could have locked him in the gym, and he wouldn't win a one-on-one game against himself for about 60 games. He was terrible. So, plus, I'll never have to hear slow mo again. I'm so damn sick of hearing slow mo on the telecast. I can puke. Call him Anderson once in a while. Call him Anderson,
so we
okay?
know
Or
who we're
hi.
talking about.
We don't have to say slow mo every time he gets the ball. For goodness sakes. So,
um, they won't be doing much in free agency. I think what Chris
no,
Hine kind of set the stage for that. They won't be re-signing Kyle Anderson. And if they do anything, it's going to be veteran minimum guys. Kind of goes the same for the Wild. Whatever they're doing here, it's kind of been the same story for.
one more
Oh,
thing
go
is
ahead.
why do they need to do anything? What do
They
they
don't.
want?
They
You got
don't. That's the
seven.
thing. They don't need
They don't
anything.
want any. You got
No.
seven guys signed.
Right.
You got these other younger guys that you still got.
Correct.
Now Luca, do you want to bring back Luca or not? Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you
They
can.
they might they converted him to a standard contract at the end of last year, which makes you think they at least wanted to retain the rights to do that. So we'll see.
But it's you don't need you don't need a 37-year-old who can
No,
I
they're talking
some
about Joe Ingles. I saw that
yeah
name.
Joe Engel, he's 36. Who wants him? You know,
I don't know.
isn't he
Yeah,
36?
he's 36. Correct. He's 36.
Yeah. Yeah, he could make a shot once in a while, huh?
Yeah,
Is that it? Is
he
that
can make a
it?
shot. And he's kind of one of those another calming kind of ball handler out there
Uh,
sometimes.
let's, calm. Let's get some young guys, go up and down the
Yeah,
court, have a good time.
yeah.
So,
As I was saying, though, you're right. Though I was just making the point that if you're sitting around waiting for the Wolves to do something in free agency now that it's open,
no,
don't hold your breath. And kind of same with the Wild. Well, free agency for the NHL opens today, and they're just kind of in the same spot they've been in for like 3 years, where it's like yeah, they could probably use some help, but they don't have any money. They don't have any money because the
Um,
buyouts are still sitting on that cap. They've got like
but
$6 million to spend. They're looking for like middle six forwards and maybe a bottom pair defenseman. It's just like, yeah, it's boring stuff. It's boring stuff.
and gritty. We're going to be gritty. We want to be gritty again.
Gritty,
We want to
hard
be
to play
tough.
against.
We want to play our style. When did
Right,
that become our style? You got Kaprizov. Don't have that style. Have
right,
a faster style.
right.
Get up and down the ice. You got Faber, and you got the apparently the defenseman they got from Denver. Is it
Yes, he's good.
is pretty good. And I don't know why the other team would not want him if he's that good. Why? What did they get out of it? They got a
Like
draft choice from 4 years
Philadelphia.
from now.
Yeah, third
Yeah,
round pick,
but
I think.
what did they get out of it?
I don't
If
know.
he
I don't
was
know
so
why
good,
11.
if
I don't
he's
know why
so
11
good,
teams
why didn't
passed
they
on him.
take him?
I don't know
Yeah,
why 11 other teams passed on him either. He was supposed to be a consensus top 10 guy. So,
yeah.
hey,
Anyway,
sometimes things happen in the draft, but they
now
got
we
him.
got two Finlanders who we love the young Finlander who can't
Yes.
score a goal. They had these two
It's a
guys. I
it's a
looked up our
strategy.
stat. They had one goal in 39 games,
Hey,
but no, the state of
development.
hockey. You know how many Minnesotans we drafted? None. The state of hockey is just a listen. This
Mhm.
Wild fans, it's just a slogan. The team doesn't believe it. Okay, it's just a bunch of nonsense.
They might as well
The state of hockey, but Garen doesn't believe in Minnesota hockey
they
players.
should
There it is.
they should start at the
Let
beginning of the beginning intro thing. They should start planting a Finnish flag at
yes,
center
right. We
ice, not a
Now they've
Minnesota
gotten
flag.
lucky with. I mean, Koivu didn't score any goals when he played over there and played here for
Yes.
100 years, and
Right.
X been really good, but
Yes. So
become
they've got a
very
track
good.
record.
But these guys, you got to wait 5 years to see if any
I
of them
know.
can ever score a goal.
I
And
know.
plus, the names are hard to spell. I don't like that either.
The names are
So,
hard to spell.
oh, there's the Finnish names. I've always
Yeah.
told the story. My first night in the Duluth News Tribune, just on the desk, the first call I get from a high school basketball team is Esko. I couldn't spell one of their names, because all back then it was all Finlanders.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden there's two O's in a row for no reason. And there's L's, and I mean it's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. The names, and I had no chance. Esco would call in after that, I think. Can somebody take the Esco box score? It was a Finlander. We had Davis Hellberg. He was a Finlander, so we could let him take their summaries because I couldn't do it.
I didn't have Finnish names on my bingo card today, but I'll take it. Hey,
Well,
let's
I grew up in Southwest Minnesota where
yes.
we only got Germans.
There you go.
And once in a while a Swede, but never any Finlanders. So
Let's finish up talking a little bit of gymnastics. I know you might not have dove deep into the gymnastics, but it was pretty compelling stuff. Simone Biles overwhelms the field and was terrific on the women's side. But Suni Lee was second in the trials and very much earned her spot in Paris as well. It was by all accounts, a huge gymnastics crowd all week long, and kind of paint by numbers in terms of the results. But Simone Biles is just that much better than everybody else, and Suni Lee, of course, the St. Paul story. Just some good storylines over there. Whiskas from the men didn't quite make it. He's an alternate. That's too bad. But yeah, it was kind of everything that the gymnastics folks could have wanted was what happened over the weekend.
it's weird though because we used to change the lineup every 4 years. It
Yep.
was it'd be who's the latest 15, 16-year-old phenomenon, and then the tiny girls had an advantage,
Right.
and now you got, I mean, Biles. Is this three now? Is this three Olympics for
I
her?
think so. And she's
She,
27,
yeah,
something like that.
but yeah, I mean that's very unusual that they. I mean, well, historically, it's unusual how money's got a lot to do with it. Obviously, that you keep going as long as you can because you
Right.
keep making the money. And back in the day, though, it'd be a new crop of Bell would have a new crop of 15-year-old girls that would be the
Right.
superstars every 4 years. So it's changed. They're adults now, and Suni's 22, maybe, isn't she 22 or
Yeah.
so?
And they changed the
And
age rules at a certain point, right? She had to be at least 16. So that was part of it. But
that right had something to do with it. Yes, it did, which was a very good rule. But yeah, it by all accounts was fine. I gotta admit I wasn't zeroed in on it. My coverage of the was reading most of our stuff on it to see what was going on, but I didn't watch because really I don't. As I said to you earlier, if unless somebody stumbles and falls, I don't really know what they did wrong when I watch it.
yeah.
The difference between a 9.8 and a 9.5 is hard for me to determine as an old watcher. I'll tell you that. So anyway, it was
All
good to have them, and well, Target Center, now the old warrior of athletics.
yeah.
I wonder how they handle something that big and all that the stuff on the side, because with their locker room situation and everything down underneath, it's terrible.
Hmm.
They got the worst facilities around as far as size of rooms that they can hold press conferences and
Yeah.
things like that. It's amazing.
Probably helps that
So
there's just not a whole lot of athletes, right? There's
yeah,
not a ton of competitors if you just got one country,
yeah.
two teams.
But
But
we did have they had a lot of the stuff over at the
yes,
convention center, right?
correct. Yes,
Like the preliminaries for the up and coming group,
right.
right? The younger ones. So
Yep.
yeah, they had activities all over, and I'm
Yes.
sure that you know a good time was had by all. And Simone Biles is probably one of the great Olympic athletes of all time.
Yes, I would say
So,
that. I would say that for sure. And all I know too is every time they show the overhead shot of the beam, I can't imagine how they're doing what they're doing. That
No,
is
no, I don't know either. That's what always when I watch the masters of it, the women
yes.
that have mastered it, I always wonder, how did you get here?
Yes.
Because you're 6 or 7 years old, and I don't know, how many times do you have to fall
Yes. Yes.
before you become fantastic with let's face it, with small bones at the
Right.
time that are
Yes.
easy things to break. And I'm sure there's people there to monitor them and try to keep them. But
I don't
how do
know.
you become an expert on that with
I don't know.
all the all the bruises and falls and tumbles and
Sprains and yeah.
disappointments
Yeah.
and tears that you've had to shed to become great at it? It's amazing.
It is indeed. Um, really quick, Lynx won yesterday. They looked like we were going to start a
Yes,
slide, but they won. The Loons are on a slide now, though. They could probably use an international break pretty soon. Lynx are going to get a break
is
pretty soon too for the Olympics.
is there anything stupider than this soccer, the MLS soccer, when half your team leaves you to go play for Liechtenstein or some damn thing
I
to
don't think
try
most
to
of the team is playing
qualify?
for
I
Liechtenstein.
don't know who you're playing for, but when you're playing for, you can't have a league where everybody just leaves whenever they want to. And the Europeans don't give a damn about us because, their season they're playing in the middle of the winter. They think it's great.
Yeah,
And it's just idiotic that you don't have your team.
yeah,
All of a sudden these guys they're great early in the year. They're running past everybody. They're playing now, and they get two guys hurt a week to start
yes,
with. And then somebody got a couple of yellow cards, which become red cards, according to my great deep soccer knowledge. But that's stupid. You can't have if, all you idiots over there singing your songs on the Wonder Wall. Why aren't you standing up and saying, "Where's our team?
yeah,
We want our team. Bring back our players, you idiots." They're all over playing all over the world.
yeah.
We're more worried about Canada than we are about our own team. You're my goalie. You stay here. Hell with Canada. We don't care if Canada qualifies or not. You sign here, you stay here. You don't go
Yeah.
play for your country. What a dumb idea. It doesn't drive me crazy because I don't, it's
But
not,
you don't care about it
I'm
enough to
not,
drive you crazy.
not locked into the standings,
No.
but to me, they're ripping off
Yeah.
the United States public with this stupid, that they're just gone. Hey,
Well,
these are
yeah.
the guys we're going to have. This would be like,
Yeah.
if baseball decided to have Olympic qualified in the July and said,
Yeah.
well, Carlos Correa has gone and decided he's going to go play with Puerto Rico for 3 weeks. He'll be back in three
Yes.
weeks. This is stupid.
Sorry, bad news too. You
Anyway,
don't have Royce Lewis or Byron Buxton or
yes,
Pablo Lopez for a while either. It's like, oh,
yes, yeah. Pablo's
that's
got to
not
go
great.
pitch. Pablo's pitching game one for whatever country he's from, Venezuela or something.
Venezuela, I think, yeah.
Yeah, it's stupid. God,
Yeah.
I look at every time I read a story, it's the 9 guys that aren't going to play this week.
It's true.
Which has killed them. It's killed them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're what?
Yeah.
They won 1 out of 9 or something like that.
Yeah, they've been struggling lately. They were off to a great start, then they've been in the tank the last 4 or 5 matches at least.
Let's go back to the NASL days. Let's have a shootout
Yeah.
after. Let's get
After
rid
a
of all
tie.
these ties.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of all these draws.
Draw. It's a draw, not a tie.
Yeah, that's traditional.
It's
the
it's
shootout.
training, not practice, too.
I used to say when the Kicks were here, the shootout was so much fun for the fans that they should start every game with a shootout. And then if you need it, that team won. But you're getting guaranteed shootout before the game or at
I kind of like that. Because then a team might be incentivized too. They're like, well, we know we already lost the shootout. Let's go for it.
Shootout. We better not have a shootout.
Try not to have a tie.
It's amazing to me they don't call me in for these ideas. I could save that dumb sport with a few of my ideas. But and why do we have one ref? You got the biggest field in the history of mankind, and one guy's deciding whether it's a penalty or not. I don't get it. Then meanwhile, basketball, we got this little tiny place, and we got 3 of them out there running around like idiots. We should. If ever we got a sport that needs one ref, it's basketball. Yeah. Let one guy make the decisions, and then we don't get nearly as many fouls. Now you might have a lot of secret violence going on.
Secret violence.
He might
like
miss
the 80s
a few
all over again.
kicks might miss a few kicks to the groinal area, but what the heck? Let's I don't understand why soccer only has one guy and then they all run over and scream at him for 5 minutes while he makes the call. It's preposterous. So,
it is. Big one for the Americans, by the way, tonight, trying to see if they can avoid the embarrassment of getting sent home from Copa America.
Did you see the Uruguayan coach can't be on the sidelines because he brought his team out late for the second half twice in a row?
No.
Yes.
Oh,
he's probably trying to, I don't know what they're trying to do, but Uruguay, used to be a big powerhouse in the early years, and now they've been okay lately. But we're underdogs, and we got
to overcome that loss to Panama.
What's this guy's coach's name? Greg something or other. He's gonna get fired. So
if they
get beat tonight, he's done. So they like firing coach. They like firing the manager.
They do. That's a good person to blame, especially in a qualifying kind of a cycle where we're getting ready for that. But we'll talk about that later this week. I think Lavelle and I will have a show later this week where we'll probably get into a little bit of soccer. I think we'll have some more Twins tomorrow with Bobby Nightingale. Patrick, appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
By the way, Twins coverage in our paper with Bobby Nightingale, Phil Miller, fantastic.
Yes,
Bobby Nightingale is tremendous and never upgraded a beat like that in our in my time there. He's fantastic. And
I agree.
Phil, and then we got crusty old Phil, who's a great writer, and it's we got tremendous Twins coverage with those 2 guys.
Yes, that's a good time when they're good. All right. Thanks, Patrick.
Yes. Yep. Goodbye.
Bye.